How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. Are you ready for 10 challenger secrets that people would usually not tell you about? Then listen up. Number 1. Dragon is worth less than you think it is, and here's why. So in most solo queue games, a lot of people usually try to surrender after losing the first dragon. But why? Let's take a look at what dragons actually do. They give you a percentage buff, depending on the dragon you slay, which is basically a scaling factor in the game. But why do we surrender after the very first dragon? Consider this. Just getting an ocean dragon grants us 8% omnivamp. With that, we'll heal up in a fight a bit more and sustain throughout the game. But what does it really change? It's not gonna magically make us win anything. That is, unless the enemy team suicided into us for that specific dragon. A lot of players are actually mentally scarred from previous experiences. They have tried to fight for a dragon, lost a dragon, and all died. Therefore the enemy got item advantages, XP advantages, and so much more. Consequently, people thought, oh my god, dragons are broken. But in reality, it is the gold you've fed to the enemy that made them so much stronger, and the dragon was just the tip of the iceberg. And if there are dragons you want to debate as broken, there usually come 2 dragons to mind. And no, it's not Infernal, it's not Ocean, and it's not Mountain. It is number 1, the Cloud Dragon. Movement speed is a broken stat and allows you to go for insane plays around the map. You're so much faster, you can engage from such a distance, and you can just run away in worse scenarios. And afterwards, it's the Elder Dragon. So did you know that if you slay the Elder Dragon, you gain a burn effect that is 45 times 3. That is 135 true damage. That is insane, especially for poke champions. And you have to consider as well that the base effect of the Elder Dragon is so much stronger than the normal dragon. And in addition to this, the more dragons you have slain prior to the Elder Dragon, the stronger the Elder Dragon will become. But in the end, just getting the Elder Dragon over all the other dragons is 10 billion times more important than anything else. Because none of the other bonuses from all the dragons, even combined, are nearly as strong as the Elder Dragon. The burn effect is just too goddamn broken. So please share the message. Dragons are not as important as you think, and surrendering is not an option after losing a dragon. Please don't force your team to die to get a dragon, and don't think they're the end of the world if you don't get them. Please, it is so important, because it's always happening, even in challenger games because of Season 3 inflation. Make it stop. Make dragons great again. Thank you. Next up is Hunter Titan being one of the most overtuned runes you can ask for, especially in combination with the Mercury strats. It's just utter insanity. You just gain up to 55 tenacity, which means crowd control is very minuscule on you. And Hunter Titan on top of that grants you up to 120 bonus health. How insane is that? So whenever you're facing a lot of crowd control, please take Hunter Titan with you. You will thank me later, because without it, it becomes unplayable. And with that, let's just go over to our question of the day. What are your personal hopes for the patch 2.5? From matchmaking to skins and even champions? Let me know in the comments below. Next up comes point 3. Adding variance to your gameplay once the game state looks dire is more helpful than trying to play it out normally. So for that, you have to imagine that your team is down like 15 kills. If you play without taking any risks, how are you going to win? It's just not very likely that it's going to happen. Therefore, we need to change something. We need to become more reckless and look for proactive plays. Such plays could, for example, look like trapping in a brush next to an objective the enemy wants to take, or just walk into a brush and sit there as 5. Do anything you can think of that might catch the enemy off guard, because playing it out normally when they're already so much stronger than you will only lead to a defeat unless the enemy team trolls. But the same principle also applies to laning. Let's just imagine you lost lane, you're 2.5 levels down, and you simply cannot approach the wave anymore. So what are your options? You could hide in a brush and hope you get some local experience, or you can make something happen somewhere else. This will catch the enemy off guard most of the time, simply because they're not used to such things happening. So let's get to point 4. Don't trust your teammates to do anything on an insane level. It's very unlikely to happen, and they'll let you down more likely than actually playing towards your expectations. So whenever you're playing the game, you'll feel like, oh my god, it's Jungle Diff again. He's not doing this, he's not doing that. But what are you expecting? Is it really reasonable for you to expect your teammates to play towards a certain level? Especially if you factor in the eel you're currently playing in. Therefore, always think about the elo you're in and value your life higher than anyone else's. That is, at least if you're in a carry position though. You don't want to make yourself too dependent on your teammates, because if you do so, you're in for a very bad time, because they're in this elo for a reason. They could have improved and could have left the elo, and now it's on you to improve and leave the elo yourself, but with your powers and not the powers of your teammates. So for an example here, if I were to create a new account because I get insane Q times on my main account again, then I would play completely different than in Challenger elo, or rather with people I know, because people in Challenger still grief a lot, more than you think they do. As a consequence, I only take plays that I think are good. I don't get swayed by my team's emotional calls to do whatever they want me to do, because if I did that, I'll most likely lose, because if they knew what they were doing, they wouldn't be in the elo they're in. So don't put the blame on your teammates, because it's not going to change anything. But let's get to point 5. Positioning in lane is key. For this you want to stay in reach to punish the enemy and far enough away to not get punished yourself. By doing so, you'll allow yourself to get agency in lane and outrate the enemy up until a point where you can do whatever you want. And especially when it comes to rotation, this is key. Just picture a moment in which the scuttle grab spawns and the enemy mid laner cannot go there. Now you have the first move and can secure the scuttle grab for your jungler. And taking into account how junglers play, the enemy jungler is very likely to suicide for this grab, even though he should know his mid laner can't move, and he'll still blame his mid laner. With that, you have an easy mental win in the pocket and probably some LP afterwards. So let's get to point 6. Every cooldown is vital and can turn around a fight in an instant. Every cooldown in this instance is a very important asset you have to think about. Let's just imagine you jump onto a Fiora as a Jax with your counter strike on. Therefore you'll give her plenty of room and time to react with her second ability. As a consequence, you'll be the one that ends up stunned. So rather than just going in blind, what about thinking of the sequencing you have to do in order to win the fight? What you basically have to do with that is you have to map out mentally what spells are important and what happens if the enemy uses that spell. So let's picture that the Fiora uses the second ability Riposte. It's now on cooldown for 13 seconds. Therefore you have a window to respond. And if you don't use that window, she'll basically beat you up. However, you can also look out for little things, such as her getting no reset on her first ability, which then will put it on a high cooldown, which then again can be abused by you. Point 7. Your jungler determines when you take an objective or not. Forcing an objective without him around is sheer lunacy. However, people feel peer pressure to follow calls, so learn to say no, even if you might get flamed for it. Obviously, there are some situations in which you can just take the objective without the jungler around. However, what is the point of you as a team contesting an objective when you're outnumbered, the enemy is stronger, and you don't have your jungle around? So let's pretend your jungler is doing Herald and the enemy team is doing Dragon. Why do you need to take the risk of fighting the Dragon, even if you don't know if you can win, whereas your jungler is currently taking free real estate on the other side of the map? Why don't you just abuse the situation to clear the wave and then walk off? This way you will deny the enemy team a wave on 2 lanes and you're happy about this. Yes, they got a dragon, but as you already learned about, dragons are not as important as you think they are. But this also gets us straight to point 8. Mistakes are not the end of the world, but a lesson to learn from and grow as a player. For this, you should start rewatching your gameplay. It will definitely help you improve as a player, and therefore learning how to analyze is one of the most important aspects you need to pick up. Don't be result oriented, look at the entire situation and all the events that led up to an event. So rather than calling jungle difference when you're getting ganked, let's ask ourselves the question, how did it happen that we got ganked? What happened that gave the enemy jungler the opportunity to get us killed? Is it a mismanage of minions? Is it mismanaging wards? Is it trading badly? There are a lot of factors you have to take into consideration, and it's not always just the easy shift the blame tactic. Focus on yourself and learn. I know it's kinda hard and takes time to watch your replays, but it's definitely worth if you know what you're looking for. The next point is something that might be a very hot take, so let's get to point 9. Your teammates are bad, and they'll always remain bad. I think my teammates in Challenger are awful, however you can still climb. Think about point 8 and focus on yourself and don't fall victim to the easy way of just shifting blame to other teammates. Yes, I know, they are bad, they are awful, but you have to deal with it. I know it sucks, but it is how it is. And honestly, there's no way to sugarcoat it and there's no reason to, because we all know it's true. But sometimes we suck as well. Sometimes I suck as well. Like, it's completely normal, we make mistakes. But yet again, mistakes are not the end of the world and we learn from them. But there's still something we can do even with bad teammates. It's not going to be easy, but it's at least something. So whenever you want to do something, ping it. Use the in-game communication tools to at least try to have an impact. Even if you imagine it only works 2 out of 10 times, it's still 2 times more than 0. Which means you had a direct impact of at least 20% of the games you've played because you told people what to do. I know the number doesn't sound promising, but it's better than what you're used to. And if you're honest, it's just about making things easier for you. Last but not least, we come to the last point. Learn to take a break. Especially after a very emotional game, so let's pretend you've tried your hardest. You've told your teammates, please do this, please help me here, and they all let you down. Even when your expectations were low, they still managed to underwhelm you. Try to avoid playing when you're in such a state. Nothing good is coming out of that. You're way more likely to flame, tilt and ruin your own game by doing so. So rather than queuing up again, look for something that is enjoyable. Take a walk, cook something, take a look at the newest episode of your favorite series. Basically anything that is not necessarily Wild Rift related. And once you've calmed down those emotions, you can go back and analyze your game and learn from the mistakes you've done. And that wraps up today's video. Thank you for watching and don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get more Challenger Wild Rift content on a daily basis. Peace out and see you tomorrow.